All right, here we are with another episode of Talking Sports with the Legend. Tonight's guest, we're so proud to have him. One of my favorites as a guy growing up in Philly, Vince Papale.
Thank you very much. Great to be with a legend. This is pretty cool.
Thank you for doing this for me.
Come on, man. You've been so persistent. You've stayed on top of me for about 2 years, I think. And I've been crazy busy. So I'm so glad and excited and proud and honored to be part of this program tonight. So let's go, man. Let's just set our hair on fire and cause a wreck, all right?
Where were you born and raised?
Well, where are you from, Steve?
Philadelphia, Kensington.
Kensington. No kidding, really?
Yeah, that's where he was. Me and his mom lived when we met, and it's where we had all our kids raised there from 85 to
99.
99. Yeah.
Oh, great. So where did you go to high school then?
I went to North Catholic. Tell them where you went, Steve.
Cardinal Doherty.
Oh, no kidding. That high school still exist?
No, but he went to originally, it was Our Lady of Confidence Day School, which was connected to Little Flower.
Okay.
And then Stephen went there for special needs, and it was all together at one location, but then they broke up. And then when the kids got to be, what were you, 14?
Yeah.
14, they went to the high school, and because of their dwindling enrollment, the whole third floor was a home ec floor, and they had all the stuff for the kids and for these guys, and it was great. They had interactions with the students. He was there when Kyle Lowry was the basketball player, was there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
Awesome. Well, you asked me, so I was just going to find out, just so you know the neighborhood. I grew up in Delaware County.
yes.
Saw the movie Invincible, which I'm pretty excited about. But they should make a movie about you. You're invincible. Legends are invincible, right? So I grew up in Delaware County. If you know where the airport is, and you're on Interstate 95, and you're heading down toward Delaware, right before you get to Boeing, on the left-hand side, and there's the river. Well, there's an exit called Prospect Park Route 420, and I grew up in that neighborhood. I grew up in Glen Olden, and I went to Interborough High School, and then St. Joe's College. Wasn't a university then; it was just all men. And then I went back to Interborough, and I was a full-time school teacher. The movie said I was a substitute school teacher, but I was full-time for 6 years.
How about
So
that?
that's where I grew up. I grew up in Chester. I grew up in Glen Olden, but I was born at Chester in Crozer Chester Hospital.
That's great. Yeah, Steve played rugby down in Delaware County last year.
Yeah, where at?
Media.
Media, no kidding.
Yeah.
See, that's a beautiful little town.
Yeah.
They used to have a high school there, but they got rid of the high school and they merged it. I don't know which one they went with. There's so many different schools and mergers. I can't keep track of them all.
It was a real big field. They had a bunch of games going on. They had special needs, plus they had what were those guys, like high schoolers or college guys that were playing that day?
Yeah.
Man, it was crazy. They had a
Pretty
big
cool.
tournament. It was real fun.
So what's your position in rugby?
I play all over.
Do you really? Well, I'm sure a guy like you is tough to bring down. What do you like best? Do you like tackling somebody, or do you like running the ball?
Running.
Running the ball. Yeah.
They do flag rugby instead of tackle. So
Oh, really? Yeah. It's like the NFL now. The NFL is coming close to being flag football. The way some of these guys tackle, you would think that way.
Tell all my followers about your NFL career.
What was that again with my NFL career?
yeah, tell all his followers about your NFL career.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see how this all happened. I'll try to keep it within an hour. So keep it within a minute. Actually, here's what was going on. So I went to Interborough High School. Then I went to St. Joe's, and I was on a track scholarship. I was a pole vaulter, and then eventually I became a hurdler and a jumper and a sprinter. And so, but St. Joe's back then didn't have a football team, so that's all I did as I did track and field. And then when I graduated from St. Joe's in 1968, there was a war that was called the Vietnam War. It wasn't very popular here in the United States. And I thought for sure that I was going to get drafted. So I was going to enlist in the Air Force or the Marines. And just before I was ready to enlist, I was probably going to try to go in the Air Force because I wanted to fly. And so before I signed the papers to do that, my high school, Interboro, called me and said, "We have a teaching job waiting for you if you'd like." So what I did is I did what I had to do. I got what's called a temporary certificate. I went back to St. Joe's after graduation, and I took 4 classes, and I got my temporary teaching certificate, went to Interboro, and at 22, I became the head track coach, the assistant high school football coach. And then I started working my master's degree. And then I decided that then I wanted to try to qualify for the Olympic trials in the decathlon, which is 10 events. So all this is going on and I was playing, if you saw the movie, and I was playing in those rough touch, those mud leagues, and that was really cool. It's a lot of fun. I played for about 3 or 4 bars. And anyway, when I was, I was 28 years old, I left teaching and I tried out for another football league called the World Football League. And Philadelphia had a team called the Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And I played for them for a year. And then the second year, the league folded. And I was going to go back and teach school again. And Coach Vermeil came into Philadelphia in 1976. Mm-hmm. And he had a free agent tryout. There were about 300 guys there. And out of those 300, there was one guy left standing. And that's me. And, so I wound up playing for 3 years. And then my 4th year, I had both my shoulders blown apart. And I was on what they called injured reserve. So I got 4 years credit in the NFL. And so that was it. But I came on as a free agent, and I was the oldest free agent ever in the history of the National Football League, except for a kicker. We don't count kickers. So
that's a great story. I never knew that the track and field part of it, because they didn't say any of that in the movie, right?
No, they thought, I wonder why, and I wanted them to. I wish I could have given homage to St. Joe's. Mm-hmm. And we weren't allowed to mention Interboro High School because in the movie it made it look like they sort of fired me. And that wasn't the case by any means. That was a little bit of a dramatic scene.
Right.
That I was going to lose my substitute teaching job. I was really a full-time teacher trying to actually be a counselor so I could counsel the students, because there was a lot of unrest going on. There's right now you see there's a lot of things demonstrations that are going on the street. Well, back as your dad would remember, he was probably about 3 years old then. Was even born, but back then there were a lot of demonstrations and there was a lot of unrest and a lot of confusion with young people and the concerns about having to go into the service and those kinds of things. So I wanted to be there for them. So I started working my master's degree so I could be a counselor to the students. And then
I think that story is better than the stuff you getting fired and being a bartender.
Yeah, but that's like, I really didn't have a lot of control over the script.
I know. I tried to tell this guy. I tried to tell him. I said, you got to watch these movies, but you always got to remember it says based on the events that took place.
Right. They call it a docu-pic and not a documentary, or a biopic, and that's okay, because the guys that did the movie were the same guys that did Miracle and Rookie.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was Walt Disney. I mean, that's the cream of the crop to say that you're basically. They always called me a character legend, Stephen, but I was, I was really proud to be a Disney character and be the invincible guy, which is really cool. So they treated me really great. My kids were 6 years old and 9 years old when this was all happening. So we were at Disney all the time, and here I only live about 100 miles south of it now. I'm in Jupiter, Florida right now.
Jeez. What year was that made? Put on TV.
The movie?
Movies, yeah. Put on the movie, yeah.
Well, it started. It originated basically in 2002, Disney purchased the script in 2004. We shot the movie in 2005, starting on the 4th of July to Halloween. And they said they said the movie was like a horror show. And then on 2006, Labor Day weekend, the movie came out, and we ran #1 in the box office for 2 weeks, which was really cool. Did 30 million in the first couple of weeks. So, but I always tell people when I'm there, I said, the movie is like you, Stephen, and you have a dream and you got to work hard. And a lot of people will tell you can't do this, because of that, because of the other thing. It's impossible. And I like to think that the movie shows people and shows legends like you and everybody around you and your dad, and then that the impossible really is possible. And they do it in a great way. And I don't have any problems with some of the things they left out and other things that they added, because
Right.
at the end, I think it's a really good story, and I'm very, very proud of it, and very proud to say that that they were investing that money in me. And here we are, 18 years later, and I'm still traveling around the country, traveling around the world, speaking. So
I can't help but ask about the flag with the Navy, the stuff behind you on your right hand side, the American flag. Yes.
yeah, that's the Blue Lives Matter, and and it's a blue stripe. And the reason I live down here in Florida is 8 years ago, there was a golf tournament for something called COPS, and it concerns the police survivors. It's for the fallen. It's like soldiers, like a Gold Star family, and this is the Blue Star family. And I was in a golf tournament last week with my wife Janet and a couple of other really cool guys, and we wound up winning the tournament as amateurs, which was
that's awesome.
Yeah, largely because of that. Now behind me, this is sort of cool. Behind me is the USA. You can't see the U and the you can.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
But that's my wife's jersey. My wife Janet was not a Giants fan or bartender. She was a world-class gymnast that was on the USA team, and she was on that same team that competed in Munich when there was the awful
yes
down there.
Yeah, that was 76, right?
That was 72.
72.
Yeah. So but Janet was like 17 years old then, but she was injured. But she did compete for 3 years on that team, and they were all her teammates. And then she went on to coach at the University of Pennsylvania and all over the world. So that's that. My son Vinny, that's him, and he was on a USA team representing our football as teenagers against Canada, and they played that game at Dallas. And my daughter Gabriella up there went to Syracuse University. She cheered, and that's our uniform. So all around here, you have different uniforms. Mine, you can see anywhere, but these are the uniforms that my kids are really proud of wearing. And my son right now, Vinny, plays in the United States Football League, which just merged with the XFL.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's great, because Stephen was going to get to that. See, I told you, I said, this guy's a professional speaker. He'll get through half of the questions Stephen had. Right, Steve, keep going.
All right. Well, I'll keep them real short, and then I'll let you ask the questions,
Ahead,
Stephen.
No, you're doing great.
Did you have a book before the movie?
No, I didn't. That's a great question, Stephen. I did not have a book. I've written 2 books. I'm really proud of one of them, 2 of them. I'm actually proud of all 3 of them. But this is one that I wrote with my wife because of she's the real athlete in the family. It's called Be Invincible, and it's a playbook for reaching your full potential. Like you, Stephen, there's something great within you that's waiting to come out. It's still waiting to come out. And, and you had the potential to be a podcaster, and now here you are, And this is another book that I wrote. It's called The Last Laugh. And my teammate, that's my teammate, and Vinny's, that's Vinny's. He was my best man and my best friend, and he's in heaven right now. But we wrote a book called The Last Laugh because they told him he was too small to play in the NFL. And they told me I was too old, and we both wound up becoming captain of the special teams. So I did not write a book. Here's how it happened. They always called me the real life Rocky. And in 2002, the NFL decided to do a feature of me on Monday Night Football, comparing me to Sylvester Stallone, the Rocky character. Mm-hmm. And the next day, Hollywood came calling, and then one thing led to another. And before you know it, 4 years later, the movie came, and Mark Wahlberg becomes me and part of my life.
How did
You were asking, said you want to talk to him about the differences in between now and when he was in the NFL.
what is the differences now from now when you played in the
Well,
NFL?
okay. Well, I'm sorry, Legend. One of the big differences, we didn't have as many penalties, for crying out loud. And we didn't have replay. I mean, that's a huge difference. Think about that.
Mhm.
Think of how many games were won and lost because we didn't have replay. I mean, it's human error,
Yeah.
and it's okay. The other thing is the game, the way it's structured, and because of the money. I mean, there's big money now. It's much bigger. I played for $21,000. That was after that free agent tryout. That day, a half hour later, I signed for $21,000. Now guys get $21,000 for a minute out on the field, But aside from the money was different. Now, because there's so much money and there's so much of this and that in the game, that training camps can't be as physical. They're shortened the training camps. They shortened the preseason games. We had 6. Now there's 4, and they're going to change it to 3 probably. But they do have 17 games. But I find right now, Stephen, that the fundamentals aren't as good today as they are back then. And these guys are better athletes. They're faster. They're stronger. I don't know if they're as mean as we were. I mean, we were psychos back then. But that's the biggest difference. The penalties and certainly and of course TV and the way the whole thing. See, we only had back. So your dad will remember. We played on Sundays, and then Monday Night Football basically came in when I was a rookie in 1976. And so and then there would be games 1 o'clock on the home field, on Sunday, and then 4 o'clock, for the West Coast teams. And that was it. We didn't have Thursday night football. We didn't have Monday night football. We didn't have Sunday night football.
And if they didn't sell out, guess what? We didn't see them.
They called it a blackout.
Blackout.
That's right. If you didn't have a sellout prior to it, you couldn't get to see the game. So you had to listen to the games on radio. And I would do it all the time, listening to Bill Campbell.
Bill Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they played at Franklin Field, but I was a season ticket holder when I was 19 years old.
Where did they play then?
Franklin Field.
Franklin Field.
Yeah, and then they went to
the vet.
To the vet.
And that was
right outside my house, right in front of my doors are remnants of the turf, the legendary turf from Franklin, from the Veterans Stadium.
We already talked about all that stuff. About this one here, did you work? Do you do any work?
Do you do any work for the NFL or for the Eagles?
Well, not really. I represent the Eagles the best way I can, and that's when I go out, and I praise them and I love them, and I'm real excited and very proud to be called what they call us now. They don't call us alumni; they call us legends. So you and me, we're legends, man. So, but I don't. I've done a few promotions. What I'll do occasionally when I'm up there for a game, the Eagles will have me sign autographs prior to the game out in the concourse. Or I might go out with a golf cart and a cheerleader or two, and we'll go visit all the tailgaters for about an hour. That's a lot of fun. But I don't do anything. If Dick Vermeil was hired as the head coach for the Eagles, and at the last minute, they switched up. If Dick Vermeil had been hired, I was already going to be the guy that was going to be their player relations, community relations director. So you ever hear that Walter Payton word?
Yes.
Yes. Talk about it. Well, I'm very proud to have said in 1977 I was chosen to represent the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't call it the Walter Payton Award then because he was still alive, but I was the finalist. The 3, one with Roger Staubach from the Cowboys and Archie Manning from the Saints at that time.
Oh, that's not fair. Roger Staubach went in the Navy. We went to the Naval Academy, and they got Vince Papale, who was a teacher, man, going against them. That's not fair, man.
Well, whatever, he's a
Yeah,
great guy.
you should have gotten it for all your work as a teacher. People don't. That it's funny, Steve. He said he got 21,000 as a football player. He was probably lucky. How much did you get as a teacher? Let's hear what you got as a teacher back then.
Well, my top salaries excuse me, after 6 years was 12,000. And I got $1,300 to be the indoor and outdoor coach. So, but that's okay. I didn't teach for the money. And
yeah, I know. That's where I'm trying to get. And I've told he knows that. He had some great teachers at the school where he went. They could have went to the suburbs or wherever, but they wanted to teach his school because it was like 12 kids to a class, and they had an assistant. The people that were assistants were wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Steve?
Yeah, they were teachers and coaches that saved my life, Stephen, because my mother, who was one of 9, and she only got to the 8th grade, and my father was one of 9, and he only got to the 8th grade. My mother had acute anxiety and depression and schizophrenia, and she wound up in and out of mental hospitals while I was growing up and going through high school. And it wasn't easy. And my father my father worked at Westinghouse. They were on strike all the time. Money was always an issue. My mother's health was always an issue. And thank God for school teachers, because my self-esteem wasn't all that great. And I was small. I wasn't, when I was 14, I wasn't even 100 pounds. I was about 4 feet, 10 inches tall. And I was bullied a lot. People talk about my mother being a nut and crazy. And, nobody wanted to come to my house because they were afraid, they were afraid of my mom, who was the sweetest, most gentle person in the world.
That's unbelievable. We have, unfortunately, I had a lot of problems with my mother also. But she fought through it, and my dad, was there, and it was hard, and it's people don't understand that part of life for the mental health issue. And like you said, he heard that, Steve. They teased him, and they didn't care. These kids were rotten back then. And it's a shame. And he was in like the suburbs. He wasn't even in like the inner city, but still the suburbs where he grew up. It was like the city back then. It was like they had kids in the neighborhood that were good kids and the bad kids.
Well, they had them, and we were all what they call baby boomers, and we lived in a housing project. If you call it that, and all the fathers basically worked on the river, with either Westinghouse Sunship or Boeing Vertol, Scott Paper. They were all these right along by where the airport was, but we didn't know any better, and it is what it is. But let me tell you something. Back then, the bullying, at least they did it to your face.
Yeah.
Now you got all the cowards that do it with social media, and anybody can put up a fake fictional name and say anything they want and tear somebody's reputation apart or everything else. And there's no accountability. And so it was a whole different ball game back then. But hey, you know what? It's each generation, you got to learn how to deal with it and survive in it. Otherwise, you're going to be toast.
Yes. He just took a course in what was the 8-week school or whatever, and it was all about social media, using your cell phone, and it was all how many of it was it, like 10 years? All special needs adults, and that's why I try to tell people, he's never too old to learn. He's 36 this year. He'll be 37 in a couple of months. This guy.
God bless you. Hey, I always say it's never too late to get into the game. And let me tell you something, Dad. Let me tell you, you would be so very proud of your son, Stephen, because he was so polite. He was right on the money when he would text me or when he would email me. It was instantaneous feedback. He was always there. And if I said, I can't, you have to understand, when I'm traveling, I'm doing this, that. It was never, oh, gee, it's well.
He's so patient. He's so patient with people. And I tell people, I said, he knows how busy people are. Like we did Angelo Cataldi, we did Al Morgani, we did Michael Barkan, we did Lou Tilley. Well, Joe Conklin's a friend of Steven. That's one of Steven's best buddies now because
does he do an imitation of you?
Does he? Yes, he did. Yeah. He did.
Really? See that? Now you're a star. If Conklin did an imitation of you, you are a legend.
Yeah, he's doing the show with Joe. When's the show, Steve? When's the
I'm
show?
doing it.
You're not doing it?
I'm gonna go to see it.
Oh, we're gonna. Oh, you're not in it this year?
No, not this
He was
year.
in a Christmas show a couple years ago. But
Oh my God. He
Steven's a
makes
little
me wet
stage fright.
myself.
Steven doesn't like, believe it or not, getting up in front of people and talking. He likes talking to you one-on-one, but not up in front of people.
Well, don't feel bad about that. I wasn't all that comfortable with it too either. And then, eventually, it got okay. But when I found out that I was like, one time I was asked to speak at a function for a deceased Marine, a Gold Star father. And I said, who's going to be there? He said, well, the guys from Black Hawk Down, the real guys and the movie guys, some Navy SEALs, some Delta Force guys, some 82 Airborne, a couple Gold Stars and this. And I said, oh my God, what can I say about that? I guess I passed the audition because he lives right across the street from me here down in Jupiter, Florida. So, but you know what? It's all about, Stephen, it's all about confidence. And what you've overcome and what you're doing now, you blow everybody away. You just there's no excuses. Say, here I am, let's go. And that's basically the way I was back then. So what? I didn't play college football. Who cares? And you just go. And you do, and beautiful job when you're wearing that Eagles hat. You're making me feel bad, but hey, here's a really cool hat. This is Coach Ramil's hat that I got when he was in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
Yeah, that's one trip we haven't made yet. We want to go out there. His brother went out with his buddies, when he was younger and right out of college, and they were in college, I guess, whatever. But they loved it. I took him to the NHL Hall of Fame. Yeah, that was nice.
You a big hockey fan?
Yeah, but that was the year we were going to visit a friend up near Niagara Falls, and he lived outside Buffalo. So we went to visit him, and I said, "While we're up here, man, I want to go to I always wanted to go to a Hall of Fame, and Cooperstown, is not that far. You can drive to, and of course, Hall of Fame. I want to go like you did. Did you go for Coach Vermeil?
Oh yeah, I went and I actually played in the game. I played in the Hall of Fame game, and I scored a touchdown against the Dolphins.
Get out.
And so I went there, and then let's see, the Doug Peterson had just gotten the job with the Jaguars, and Doug is a good friend of mine. So we were up there as his guest, and also with Dick Vermeil's guest. And then, ironically, my son Vinny in the USFL played on that same field. And he came so close to scoring a touchdown. I would have come apart if he scored, because and in the end, same end zone as me.
Oh, get out! Oh,
yeah, he was just about 2 yards short, but that's okay.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Oh my God! Well, thank you so much for taking your time out and doing this.
Oh, we're done already. This is too easy. Come on, man. Give me one more question. Just give me
another one, Steve. You got another one for you? Got another more? You're all out. Well, you know what? I was so funny because I told Steve, I said, when he was asking about high school and all, and I said, I couldn't remember what high school, and I said, I'm sure we'll find out as he's talking, and then I was going to ask, he was going to ask you what you did like after high school about college, like where you went, and then what'd you do after college, and you told us everything that he usually goes through. I told him.
Instead of giving me the script, I would have. Everybody says I have diarrhea of the mouth and constipation of the brain, so watch out.
I was told that by a high school teacher. He called me hemorrhoid, and he also said I have diarrhea of the mouth. So.
Oh yeah. So anyway, thanks, Stephen.
Thank you so much.
You, and I'm so proud to be a part of this podcast. And I'm going to tell all my buddies, and if there's anybody that you think that you need and you want a referral, you let me know and stay in touch.
All right.
Thank you. What's great is be kind to people. If we were all kinder to people and we treat everybody like they're the most important person we've ever met, it would be a beautiful world that we live in right now. So, just hang in there, keep grinding, and dream big, and don't be afraid to sweat a little bit. Vermeil had a great saying too. Said, nobody ever drowned in sweat. So, all right. So you keep grinding, man. Fly, Eagles, fly. We got banged up pretty good with.
Yeah, we're gonna get them now. The last 4 games, right, Steve?
Yeah.
All right, Vince. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, and have an invincible New Year.
You too.
All right, guys.
Take
Yeah,
care.
guys.
Have a great. Hope you and your family continue to have great success. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
And Stephen, I'm so honored to be a part of this podcast. Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.